Hi folks, thanks for joining me. I'm Stuart Dunn from Universal Rocks, and I'm standing in front of 7 of the most typical size aquariums that are sold in the marketplace today. They range from a 10-gallon little tank here up to a 55-gallon tank on the floor. But the stand that's to the side of me is got the rocky backgrounds in them, and I'm going to show you how well they go in these with some decorations of rocks and plants and logs and things. But this stand holds about 21 different size backgrounds. Some of these backgrounds, as you'll see, may need a little trimming off the height, because typically the height of the aquariums that are in the marketplace, they're made by a bunch of different people and they may vary half an inch to an inch. So sometimes, even though you get the background straight off the shelf to suit that tank, it might be a little bit higher or lower. And if it's higher, then you're going to have to cut it. If it's lower, then you might just add some gravel at the bottom, which you won't even see. So the backgrounds here are just very, very versatile. They're flexible, so you can bend them. You can't break them. And the advantage with that, with some of the tanks like the 55-gallon tank over here that's got a center support system in it, then you can simply bend this, put it in, open it up, and then on the back in the product is some magnets. So you simply get some other magnets like these ones here. They're about the size of a 25-cent piece, and you put quarter for you Americans, and then put that on the outside of the tank. Get some tape if you like. You can tape that onto the outside of the tank, so if you move the background, the magnet doesn't fall down the back and then you're trying to get it, which is the hardest part of the whole project. So just put some tape on the back once it's in place, and then that's good for as many times as you want to move it. But this little background here, it's very flat, but it's got a lot of detail in it. And you'll see some of that detail when we do some close-ups of the complete tanks. But it's taken from a natural rock, actually on the coast of Australia, and it's got every minute little detail, crack and crevice that was in the rock, and it's just perfect for, you know, instead of a photo at the back of a tank, you've got this real realistic rock outcrop. And it's great for the animals, especially the reptiles that climb all over it and shed their skin on it. But the fish, you know, they just look great with their colours lighting up on the darker and the multi-tone background. So just bear with me. I'm going to show you how these go in. Here's a little example of just simply how simple it is straight into this tank. The height of this was perfect anyway. Grab the magnets, put it on the back there. Okay. Just be careful putting the magnets on, because they're pretty strong little magnets. So once they're on, you'd grab the tape here, a little bit of tape, and that's good to stay now. So that's done. We'll decorate that in a little bit of time after we've shown you how you can cut some of these. So the little 10-gallon tank, I noticed before, it needs about half an inch to an inch cut off it. So there's the background, the magnets. This only comes with 2 magnets. It has a label on. The label has staples in it, so you've got to make sure that the staples come out of that, otherwise that'll rust in the water. So okay, I've just taken the staples and the label off. By the way, on the back of the label is the instructions, but if you continue watching this video, you won't need those. Now this fish tank is about an inch shorter than my background here. So what you need to do is you turn your background upside down, so your magnets are on the bottom, because your magnets always are at the top of your tank, not the bottom of the tank. So turn it upside down, place it in your tank, grab yourself a marker and mark the section that it needs to be cut at. Okay. Another way to simply do that is to get a ruler, stick it in your tank, look at what height that needs to be, and then come back and mark your background with a straight line. Now that's pretty easy. The tough bit to this whole process is actually cutting it. This material is extremely tough. There's parts of it that are thin and there's parts that are thick. So there's lots of ways you can cut it. Sometimes you're lucky and you just get it, wherever you're cutting it, it's quite thin. These multi-shears are fantastic, but you know, I've got some good dressmaking scissors. They're very, very high quality. They're tough. They work really well. So I'm going to mark, I haven't marked that line yet, but I'm going to mark that and I'm going to cut it with those and just show you that you can do that. Other ways you can do it is with a really sharp kitchen knife. Got to be a bit more careful with that. Typically when you do that, you want somebody pulling away as you're cutting through along the line with the knife. The scissors are the safest way to do it, but you need a tough pair of scissors and good hand to do that. So just bear with me. I'm going to mark my line and then I'm going to cut it, so you can do that yourself at home if you need to. So there's a little piece that I've cut off, and there's the background now ready to go in. So it's just a matter of put it in the tank, push it up against the back of the tank. It's quite a tight little fit there. Okay, grab my magnets. So in this case there's only 2 magnets needed. Oops, there's a classic example of it dropping, and you've got to get it from the back. Okay, so once again you can just use some tape them on, and that way they're not going to move. So now it's ready for decorating, but what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to go through and put the backgrounds in all of these tanks, and then we'll go along to putting gravel in, some rocks and some more plants. Okay, one of the other things that I want to show looks fantastic in an aquarium, and any of these tanks could be done the same way. This taller tank here, the 2-foot high tank, I'm going to put this background in, but I'm going to put it in so it covers the sides as well, so it'll look like a real little cave. I've actually cut this. I cut about 4 inches off this already, so I put it in first, saw how much it would flex into the corners, then I marked it. I kept it still pretty tight, so you want it to push hard up against the front edges of the tank, so in that way the animal can't get behind. So in this case what we got to do is fold it up completely. Obviously put your magnets again up the top, feed it into the tank. Sometimes it's like wrestling with a snake itself. So once you put it into the tank, and I'm putting the shiny side touching the glass first, because that way if it rubs against the glass it doesn't scratch the glass, whereas the other side's got crushed rock in it and it can scratch the glass. So put that in. Once it's in, you then gently open it up, and the real challenge is to actually push it as tight into the corners as you can. That way you don't lose too much space in your tank. If you let it just curve like it is there, you lose too much space in the tank. So in this case we just push it really tight into that corner, and then the same again into this corner. Just bear with me, I'll just have to use a bit of muscle here. Okay, and then you can pull it back. The gravel will hold it back tight. When it's real tight, it's really flush against the glass and looks fantastic. So I might just put the light on just to show you what that looks like. Okay, so that's a great little cave, and it looks fantastic either with reptiles or fish. So let's make this the first one, and I'll decorate it. So I'm just going to move over to the side and grab some bits and pieces. So that's what I really want to show you with all these different sizes, because it gets fun when it's easy. When it's hard and you're worried whether you've got the right pieces, whether you're going to scratch your glass, and whether it's too big for the tank, this way you can put and look and have fun with it. So just look at that, and then I'll come back to you when I've decorated all of these. Well, I've just had 35 minutes of fun decorating the last 6 size tanks that I had to do, and they range in needs for different animals and different fish. Over the far side here I've set this one up, and I love this little one where you would fill that tank up about half the depth. You would put some small turtles in that. They would be able to swim all around in the depth of the water that you have, but then they could climb up, and you could put some heat lamps above them, above those ledges, so they'd rest on those ledges and sun themselves. Then you've got, if you come down the bottom here, you've got one here with a water bowl and some hide rocks and some vines. That'd be great for snakes and lizards. the rest of them would be fantastic for fish. So my aim really is to show you how easy this is so you can have the confidence to have fun and play with it just like I've done. So thanks very much for joining me.